So we are here with our lovely franchisee, Tennille Green. Tennille, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
What I'd like to know, Tennille, like for all of us, starting anything new can be very, very scary. What were you most fearful of before starting your Hitfit franchise?
Fear for me, I think, because I hung up all my other gloves, I suppose, from all my other occupations that I was the best at, I suppose, that I was, very well experienced and had many, many years of, sort of working all my way up to the top level, I guess, of that. And I guess for me, just the unknown. The rest of the family had kind of worked for Hitfit for a long, long time before. I'd been around it a lot, but more on the sideline. So I guess just sort of jumping in and hanging up all those gloves and just diving full into, a new pool, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you think there has been value in having support from people that have been there and done that? Obviously, you said you didn't have as much experience
100%.
coming into it.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess, having Nick and Harvey to lean on as well, sort of navigating. But, your mum probably was the number one support figure for me. To lean on for everything, even to this day still. I've got her on speed dial, so yeah, that support, with the upper management and things like that has been, priceless.
And you just touched on it. What support has been the most helpful?
Definitely your mum and Melina and all those other people in that area at Melton and our first location that sort of do all the roles that I'm learning, still navigating. But yeah, and Danny was a huge support for me as well. Just always there. So no matter what time of the day or night, I've got both of them on speed dial and, messaging and texting back and forth. So yeah, everybody's been really supportive and always available when I need it.
Amazing. That's really, really good to hear. And how has owning your own Hitfit impacted your life?
It's been really, really positive. I suppose even just learning how to navigate the whole journey as a family as well. But yeah, it's not. I would say it's taken over our lives, but in a very, very good way and a positive way. And just sort of watching something grow from nothing has just been amazing to be a part of as well.
What have you learned about yourself throughout this process?
Probably that I'm better at things than what I give myself credit for. I am juggling a lot of balls at the moment. At first it was difficult, I suppose, just going into the unknown and learning everything from scratch. And I suppose you have to get your head around all the moving parts, I guess, behind the business. There's so much. This is just the show. What goes on in to orchestra the show and make that happen. A lot of that falls on me. So I suppose, just knowing that I've been able to learn so much in a short period of time and really get my head around, I guess, the business structure, and what Hitfit stands for. I suppose that's been something that I've been impressed with myself with, but yeah.
Absolutely, and you touched on it there a little bit, but what's been like the hardest part of your business journey so far and how have you overcame it?
The hardest part was definitely just the family dynamic. So so we have all of, my husband, say with Nick and Harvey, and I suppose that power shift as well, from basically your son being your boss. At work, and then us still being the bosses at home, and trying to, I guess, get that separation from the business to home life. I think for me as a mum, that was my biggest sort of wall that we had to sort of break down. But that it was just time, it was just time. Everything was unknown, and it was sort of, we didn't really know where people's roles were going to be until it was in place. I guess, in our mind, you have a way that things are going to work out and then they sort of, might roll out a little bit differently. And I think that was just the biggest navigation for me. But I don't know, we just sort of made it work, as families do. We butted heads a little bit at the start and had it out a few times. But yeah, it all sort of, worked out. where it's meant to in the end. Yeah.
And what's been the most rewarding part of this journey?
The most rewarding part has been just watching the business grow. Yeah. From the ground up, as you know, I remember when we were literally laying the foundations, and when we were laying the floors on the early days, on those, stinking hot days in the factory, and you sort of look at it and you think, and in comparison to Melton as well, you got Melton at 1,000 members, and you think, gosh, are we allowed to swear? You do. You think, shit, how are we going to keep that standard there, and how is this going to turn into something, a really phenomenal functioning business. But yeah, I think just watching that grow and that community just grow, and also just growing together as the family, like being successful together and really celebrating, those wins, which together as a team, which has been really amazing as well. Yeah.
And what excites you the most about the future?
Just everything. Yeah, just continuing to grow, continuing to, have people down to the gym, and just, spreading the positive vibes and this positive word of what HitFit is, and just, reaching for the stars, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No ceiling.
And what would you say to someone that, maybe in your situation, 7-8 months ago, that's thinking about franchising with HitFit? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would say do it. I know it's scary, and I know, to sort of put all your eggs in one basket and start from scratch is really, really scary. But yeah, if you have that work ethic and you have that amazing team and support behind you, just do it. The opportunity, if you get given that opportunity, just run with it, because has been amazing for us, and it is, changing lives, not only with our members, but changing our lives, within our family and what we're going to be able to achieve together. So yeah, 100% just do it.
Absolutely. And what characteristics do you feel it takes a person to have to be, a successful business owner in the fitness industry? So
just has to be hardworking, very, very hardworking. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. You've got to be ready to hit the ground running. You've got to be, flexible in the way you perceive something to be, and then how it will be. Like I said, how your roles will sort of fluctuate as well. You've got to get ready for the ups and the downs of the way the nature of the fitness industry is. Sometimes it's flat out and you can't keep up, and sometimes it does, slow down a little bit. So you sort of got to be, have things planned ahead for that to happen. And I think that's just, and being different from everybody else. I think that's the biggest thing. There's so many coaches and trainers out there, and anybody can be a trainer, I guess, but to be able to be a coach and to be able to have that expression and your passion given out to your members, and to come across to your community that you actually do give a shit. I think that's the difference, and that we have compared to other people in the industry.
And as you know, a lot of people get into the fitness industry because they enjoy training others. And then kind of once they start their own business, they realize, well, like the business as a whole, training people is only a certain part of it. There's a lot of other skills that you have to be good at. And then some people struggle to make that transition. Can you comment on whether having a playbook to running your franchise has been helpful for you to kind of fulfill that mission of changing lives?
Yeah, I think that, for myself I am a personal trainer, and I think, that was the biggest change for me, was like going from that hands-on and being, I guess, not the king of the show, but I think in your mind you think sometimes as a trainer, from where I came from, you think the show is the main part of it, and I guess, getting that understanding that the orchestra and behind the scenes of the show is actually where all the magic happens to make the show look great. But I think that would be it.
Yeah. And can you talk to us about that adjustment period for you? Like, obviously you still are involved in the community, you still are out on the gym floor, but your role as a whole, that only makes a small portion of it. And coming from a background where you were a personal trainer, did it take a little bit of adjusting to be like, I'm not out, like, we all love being in front of customers and hearing the amazing success stories, but a lot of what we do is behind a computer, it is numbers on a screen.
Yeah.
How did you find that adjustment period?
Really, really difficult. Yeah, for me, I find it very hard to sit in front of a desk and be very, very still. I'm used to just going 100 miles an hour. And yeah, that energy, to have to pour that energy sort of into the numbers rather than into people, was a challenge in itself. But yeah, I guess I still had that good balance because I was sort of fronting reception as well. So I would sort of, do the isolating numbers and everything. I do that throughout the day. And then I still get to have that one-on-one time with, every member that walks through the door in the afternoon as well. So it's kind of a good balance there at the moment.
I definitely had a similar experience to yourself. We almost have like an identity crisis when like your role shifts within a business.
100%.
And like beforehand I was doing, a lot of the sessions. And then, as the gym grew, I realized, I can't be doing the sessions and, working on the business. Like, unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day, even though I was very passionate about, training members and coaching people. And then you kind of get to a point where you're not really doing that as much. And people might be like, when you're going to run a class, or I used to really love your sessions. And it sometimes pulls, at your heartstrings, You realize that's just necessary in order for the business to grow. And I think for me, like, that adjustment period definitely did take some time. And it's like, I really love training people. Now I'm not doing that. Is like my enjoyment of what I'm doing gonna fade? And I think for me the biggest shift was that I don't have to enjoy I love what I'm doing every day. I have to love the outcome of what I'm doing.
Yeah,
so
100%.
My mission, yes, it is to train people, but even more important than that, I'm training people, so I'm helping, boxing transform lives. Now, as a result of me looking at a spreadsheet, or me not being on the gym floor, or me coaching coaches to train other people, I'm just able to do that on a bigger scale. So I've fallen in love with not what I'm doing every day, but the outcome of what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, I think that's a massive, it's pretty much exactly what I was doing, that stuff that sort of filled my cup immediately, and I guess made me feel, important, I suppose, as a really important figure at that sort of, and that instant validation, I guess, was gone. But yeah, I think that is a massive shift to have to look, start to learn the long game, the long game and the big picture, and how it is, all structured for, the greater good of the business. And, the better the business is, the better the service we can offer, and the more lives we can change as well.
Absolutely, no, I agree 100%. And after the grand opening, you guys went from 0 to 500 plus members in just a matter of months, which is more than most boutique gyms can achieve ever. Walk us through that process, and did that exceed your expectations, or is that kind of what you guys were expecting?
Definitely exceeded it was wild, it was at the start. It was just, I guess that was, like when I was thinking, are we going to get the members, or are we going to have the clientele base? Are people going to be interested and want to do that? And then, with all that fear that you had for going into a business, it was just, crazy. And I think because a lot of it, we had that support network to lean on. But, all the work that went in on the gym kind of fell on, mine and Harvey's shoulders at start. So it was just, to keep up with it, or you sort of felt like that hamster on a wheel sort of thing. But being busy in a new business is just a blessing, like the pressure is a privilege, to be under that kind of pressure and under the pump of being so busy and having to keep up with so many sales and so many new members and all the follow-ups and all that stuff was just, that was, the blessing to be growing that quickly. And it's just like the support of, the marketing genius that we have behind it as well, to be able to get all the leads, and just the structures that have been put in place, I guess, to keep that clientele coming nice and quick and fast.
100%. And we touched on before, obviously being scared to start something that you've never done before, and you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Now that you guys have been operating for a little while, have you drawn a lot of confidence from what you've been able to achieve? And has that made the journey more rewarding?
100%. And I guess it's just the biggest part is trying to, I think anyway, for anyone thinking about doing this in the future, is understanding and having an understanding of the whole business. being almost a jack of all trades within the business. So, you sort of can understand all those moving parts. But yeah, I think that knowing all that now and being able to have that long-term, thought of how the business is going to grow, plus having those tools now of knowing pretty much how all, moving forward, it just makes you more, confident and excited for the future because you sort of know where you're going now, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it certainly does.
Yeah.
And I think too, you mentioned, playing the long game. And I think that's important because in any business, like you don't always get the rewards right away. Even though it did happen pretty quickly for you guys, but there's still, a considerable amount of work behind the scenes and even before that point to get you ready, to start your own business. And I think the hardest thing we deal with as business owners is pouring all this money, pouring all this time and effort into something and not being guaranteed that it's going to work out. Like you unfortunately, no matter how good you are, obviously anything can go wrong at any given point, but you just think I'm putting in all this time and effort and you just have to have hope in that it's going to work out. Also, you have confidence in yourself that you'd be the type of person that's willing to do anything to make it come to fruition. But it is that uncertainty of like, oh man, I'm like dedicating my life to this and like, what if it doesn't work out? But unfortunately, there's no other option. Like you either do it.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Or if you don't do it, you're destined not to achieve it anyway.
Yeah, I think that is the unknown. And I think at the start, especially like as I said, it's not for the faint-hearted. Like it is hard work, to make sure that everything is up and running, and you answer the DMs, and you've chased up the leads, and you've all that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, and you work the most amount of hours you've ever worked for probably the least amount of money, especially when, it's your own business. But I remember my mum specifically saying to me before we'd even, I'd given up everything, and before we'd decided, this is definitely the way we're going to go ahead. And my mum said, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work? She said to me, and I said, but what if it does? And I suppose that's the thing, when you take a chance with anything, like if you sat there and said, what if it doesn't work out? I'm not going to do it. Like nobody would ever do anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, 100% agree. Tennille, it was amazing talking to you as always. We're very excited to continue to work with yourself and your family.
Yes.
And now that you guys are our first franchisees, that means you're our most successful franchisees, and now you have a certain status to uphold.
I know. Yeah, we've set the bar, we've set the benchmark.
So it doesn't matter whoever else comes along, you got to make sure that Hoppers is pumping.
Yeah.
But no, we're really excited about the future for you guys, and thank you so much for trusting us as well.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you.